All
Hello,
right,
everybody. We're back.
We're here for another show, and we have a special guest
Joining us.
Hello.
So excited to introduce this Supermom
Yes.
to you. But first, we shall review some wine.
Yes.
Are you ready for that?
I am ready.
Nikki C. A. Marie, before we start, just to make sure that you all remember who we are, okay? Because we want you to subscribe,
And
okay?
this is Nekia.
Yes.
Welcome, Nekia.
Thank
Ready to
you.
drink now?
I am.
All right, so we have two bottles here today. Why do we have two bottles? Does anybody out there remember why we have two bottles?
Right. So, if you remember one of the previous shows, I can't remember, we were drinking this, right?
Stella Rosa.
Because we were looking for this, but the guy in the liquor store said that this was the same thing as this. So the Stella Rosa was the same thing as Rosa Imperial.
Because Rosa Imperial, you can only get it at Total Wine. And so that's why
this
he
was like
said
their brand.
that was their brand, but this is the same thing.
It's the same.
So,
And then we tasted
A.
it.
Marie didn't think it was the
I said,
same.
hell no, it's not. It's like grape juice. It is not.
So we're going to do a comparison today. So let's see.
So
Which
what
one
do
you want to start
What do you
with?
want to start
Let's
with?
start with the Stella Rose.
Okay.
So this is the one that is supposed to be the real one.
Right.
And that's kind of like the...
That's the real one.
This is what we were
Okay.
we were looking for.
Okay, gotcha.
This was the goal.
Okay. But just do a little bit, right? To sip. Is that
Yeah, because
good?
you have to finish it so we can compare it. So knock the edge
Excuse me.
off.
All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Open it up. Open it up.
I like.
Uh-huh.
It don't taste
I
like
like it.
grape juice.
But what do
It
you think
do
it
taste
tastes
like
like?
grape juice.
Really good grape
With
juice.
like
With a
the
little kick.
alcohol. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You can still taste the alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so bitter.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot taste alcohol.
You can? Can you? Well, we can't ask you.
I can taste it.
You can taste the alcohol?
I mean, I can taste it's not grape juice, right?
I don't think Nikki C turned her phone off, y'all.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't. I was trying to kind of ignore it, but
You can't ignore that.
it doesn't seem like it's working.
All right,
We're back now that I had to take my phone off. So you think this is more like grape juice? I can taste it. It's not grape juice. I can taste it. It has like something, some kind of like it's not
Like it
It's not a
doesn't
juice.
taste like that. You know, when you have communion at church, it doesn't taste like that. And they give you like some grape juice.
Yeah, because it
some
doesn't have that
wine.
much sugar in it. But
Mm-hmm.
I could see me not knowing that this was not. Like if somebody just poured me and said, "Here,
I
have
can-
some
I
grape
can
juice,"
taste the
I would
kick.
say, "Okay." Say,
So
it's good.
did I pour too much in y'all? Why didn't why?
Because you just drunk yours up. That's why.
Because it was good. She likes it.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay,
Now
so let's
for-
try the real thing.
Right, let's try
So
the
you
real-
like this one better?
We
Well,
don't know. This is
okay.
the one that we usually get, but we couldn't find it,
Okay.
and so he told us that
That's
this
what we
real
realized
life.
it was a total wine.
It looks the same as you're pouring it, right?
It looks a little
it
lighter.
looks a little. I was just gonna say
You
it
think-
does look
no,
a little
It looks
lighter.
a little lighter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right,
Let's
let's
see.
see.
It is the same.
It is.
It's the same.
I can't tell the difference.
It is the same.
It's actually like
It's the same.
Let me try.
He was
again.
right.
you know what it is? It's a little less grapey. It's not as like it's the same, but
I can see what she's saying.
it's like not as like
I can taste more of the kick
yeah.
with this one than I can with that one, but it tastes the same.
It tastes the same, it has the same flavor.
Yep.
But the strength is different.
You don't see the difference?
No,
It is a little bit more kick. I agree. It's the same. Like I can taste.
it's the same amount of calories.
I would think
What
this
volume
has-
of alcohol is it?
I would think this was alcohol and that was not.
Really?
I think so. It's like a little less like grape juice.
And this is 5.5%. What is that?
Is it on the back?
Yeah, it should be. Is it over here somewhere?
Oh no, I just see the sweet level.
Alcohol
6.
content. This one says 5.5. What's that?
Is it on the front?
Oh yeah, 5.5. Right
Oh,
here.
Yeah, so it's the same. It's the exact
It
same.
does. I don't think it tastes the same. You guys are gonna have to just
It tastes
I
the
think
same.
it tastes the same.
purchase
It
it.
just
because-
has a little
right.
bit more kick.
Yeah,
Now-
the flavor is the same, but it's a different. It's lighter.
What's the price the
Look
same?
at that. Now, why did you ask me that?
Because you don't remember.
One is more than the other.
I have no idea. I bought like 6 of these. Gave one. I gave one to Dina. I got like 3 more at home. I brought one here. Like I brought a lot of these.
Yeah, this is
we
the very
like
popular.
them.
This
Yeah,
is-
and it's popular. We
You know,
like it.
every time we get together, this is what we have. But the one time we got together for the
So
cookout,
you remember?
we were trying to find it, and he said this was the same.
Yeah, I don't think it's the same. It's the same
It's the
flavor.
same. It's the same.
It's the same flavor.
But you all can
This
try.
has a little bit more kick.
It's
now
worth
now
a
I'm gonna
try.
go to Total Wine and get me
And
some.
get it.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
you
but
get that
that's
one
the
over
crazy
that
thing
one?
that it's only sold at Total Wine.
So would you get this one or that one?
Because this one has a more of a kick to it, I would get this one.
Really?
It has a little bit more of a kick. Same flavor, but you can
Yeah,
definitely.
it is the same flavor,
Mm-hmm.
but it's less like.
And it could be how they make it. You see what I'm
Maybe,
saying? Like
yeah.
they make this one different than
Yeah,
that. They
this
do
one looks like
something
it
with
has
grapes.
more bubbles.
They
Look,
do
you
something
just
with the
poured that
grapes.
one, and mine still has more bubbles.
Yeah, look at the difference.
Yeah, look at that. That is darker.
She still don't taste the difference.
Look at that. That is different. This one's lighter, and it look at
Yours
all those
does have more bubbles, but
Yeah,
what does the bubbles mean?
that's the kick.
That's the key.
Is it?
Makes it less grapey.
I
It makes it makes less grape juicy. Like I don't want to feel like I'm drinking juice.
Okay. Well, either way, we like them.
I
Right?
still like them both.
Yeah.
Like them both.
Yeah. Yep.
This one's still my fave.
All right.
This one will probably get you lit because you don't think you're drinking
Drink
it.
it.
Mhm.
I think both of them do really because when I first had this one, because I'm not a drinker, and I was like drinking it, right?
She liked this one. Yeah.
I like it.
Mhm.
All right. Well, you all decide for yourself, but we got to go on to our topic now.
Yeah.
So, Supermom, Mom of the Year, Supermom. So Nekia is here to kind of tell us her story and the things that she has gone through in regards to, taking care of her parent, in regards to taking care of herself, and taking care of 2 children by herself. Right?
Yes.
So where should we begin? Or where should
Where,
we
where would you like to start?
Let's see. Let's start about being a single mom.
Okay.
Start
Mhm.
with that. So, my kids are now 24 and 8, and
boy, girl, or
8-year-old boy,
Okay.
24-year-old girl.
Okay.
So it does help having a big gap like that when you're a single parent because
She's a
my
helper.
daughter helps.
Mhm.
Yep, she's always there to help to pick up those pieces where the father would be, if you will. So that wasn't really a struggle because I have her.
Mhm.
I didn't have the grandparents because of my mom's condition, her being sick. She tried, but I didn't want to put that burden on her. One good thing is I have a huge family, so I have that family support, and we're close, and we all help each other out. So that was the key. I think if I didn't have family, I wouldn't be able to do this. Whether I didn't have my daughter or the rest of my extended family, I don't think I would be able to do it. So
Family
that is
matters.
key. Yes.
Family matters.
Mhm.
A support system. Whatever
Right.
your support system is, that matters.
Right, exactly. Because even with 2-parent households and both
Yeah.
parents working,
Yeah,
you
still
need
need. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
need
Absolutely.
if not
It takes a
nothing
village.
else,
Yeah.
a break.
Yes.
A break.
The
Yeah.
village matters.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
village is that support system.
Mhm.
So yes, just even if you have just a husband, but we depend on our family a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yes, yes. And I will say being a single parent made me very independent. So
Mhm.
I don't have to depend on people unless I really need to. Like, I do everything myself. Taking the trash out. Like, I'm not one of those people like, oh, I can't take the trash out. Just like learning how to build things and do things.
That's
So-
another topic to discuss.
Yeah.
So, because you are so independent,
Mm-hmm.
if someone was to come in the picture, then what would
I have
happen? But
issues.
that's another
That's a
topic.
whole nother
That's
show.
another
That's
topic.
so funny you say that.
Yeah,
but that
we
is
want to
another
bring you
show.
back for that one.
Yes.
That is so
Oh,
true.
yeah.
That you I didn't. And yeah, you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as being a single parent, it is tough, but because I had the family and I had my kids so different in age, it was a big help.
Mm-hmm.
Now, health-wise, so my mom had breast cancer and metastasized, and I had family, but I was like her rock. I was the caretaker. I was at all the appointments. Even when I couldn't be at the appointments, I was FaceTiming. Anything that the doctor changed, she went through me. They went through me. They knew to call me. Any and everything, I was on it. There was a time we were at a funeral, and she had just pushed over in the pew, and she started wincing, and come to find out, she broke her leg.
Oh.
I mean, bro, like you could see, she had on
wow.
boots. I pulled her boot down and I could see the bone.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
And so we called an ambulance to take her, and when they were asking questions, I knew everything.
Yeah.
I knew the medications. I knew this, what hospital she has to go to, everything. So I was there for all of that. So when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was actually afraid to tell my mother because I didn't want her to think that it was her. She was the reason why I got breast cancer. And number two, I knew she would be upset because she couldn't. My mother was always that person.
She's your caretaker.
Exactly. And so she couldn't really do the things that she could. So I had to step back and say, how am I going to do this? And that's where that family came in. So I had a schedule down. I knew when she had to go to her appointments, and I had people taking her. And ironically, our hospitals were across the street from each other. And so we used to kind of make our appointments.
Nothing is a coincidence. And nothing is out of order.
Yeah, so it's meant to be. So there were
Oh.
times we could go together. So like we would have two people come with us, and one would go with me, and one would go with her, and that's how we made it work.
Wow.
And I will say, I probably didn't recover like I should because I was so worried about her. So the times I was supposed to be resting, I was like, no. So I was like pretty much bedridden for a couple of weeks after I got out of the hospital, but I stayed at her house because number one, two things. She needed to see me to see that I was okay.
Yeah.
And I needed to make sure she was okay. So we were kind of taking care of each other. We were kind of taking care of each other. So I really delayed I didn't do the things I was supposed to do because I was so focused on her and what she had to do. As far as my son, he was in daycare, so that was a struggle. It was a struggle to try to explain to him what's going on with me. I was very transparent with it. I showed him my scars. He knew everything. I didn't hold back. But I couldn't pick him up. I couldn't do certain things, and I had to say, well, mommy this, mommy that.
And how old was he at the time?
He was 3 and a half. Yep,
he was 3 and a half. 3 when you had breast cancer.
Yep. He was 6 months when my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer again, when it metastasized. So all he knows is my mother being sick and then his mother now being sick. So that also was a challenge there. But I talked to him. The family was great. I had cousins that took him for 2 weeks at a time so that he could have he needed that normalcy. My daughter that's one thing, we talk, but she was just in a mood like me, so she's like, I gotta take care of my mother, I gotta take care of my grandmother. So she was, and we to this day, we never really talked about how that made her feel. Yep. Wow. And she was there, like, I couldn't do anything for myself, and she literally washed me up in the shower because I couldn't lift, I was numb, I just couldn't do anything. So she was my rock at the time because I couldn't do anything. So between her and the rest of my extended family, that's how I was able to make sure my mother was okay, try to get myself together, and my family was okay.
So why till this day have y'all still not kind of circled back? And
I think because we'll probably now, but because we were still in the motions with my mother. Yes. Okay. Yes. So because she started her health was declining, that's all we could really do is just do what we needed to do for her. So I think that's why we never had that conversation.
So your mom got sick, breast cancer, and you were taking care of her. then you was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Mhm.
Then you were taking care of yourself and her and your
kids.
two
And
children.
kids. Yep.
And then you recovered.
I recovered, went back to work, and still, I just went back to that mode.
Right.
You were running it.
Running
Yes.
everything. So you went back to mommy.
Mm-hmm.
You went back to caretaker and daughter.
Yep.
And then so your treatments were done at that point.
So I had a mastectomy.
Okay.
And so I didn't have to do chemotherapy or radiation. It was so low grade that I didn't have to do any of that other stuff, which was a blessing because that allowed me to go back to what my new normal.
To recover faster and get back to
right.
And can I just back up for a second? So how did you find out? Was it because you were having a routine mammogram? Was it because you felt a lump, or what?
It was a mixture of things. So back up to when my mother was first diagnosed, I had felt a lump back then. I was in 2010. I felt a lump, and I was going to the doctor and saying, hey, there's something there, and they was doing all these tests, nothing. That triggered my mother to say, I haven't gotten my mammogram yet. She got her mammogram, and that's when they found the cancer.
Oh, wow.
Because I
was
found,
yeah.
So what happened was I had a biopsy, and they removed that lump. It was like a cyst or something, non-benign, and I still had that scar. So after I had Austin, my son, I was still producing milk after I had stopped breastfeeding for a year.
Wow.
Still milk was producing, and it just, I felt that lump in that area where they had
already removed it.
Yes.
Oh.
And so I went to my normal OBGYN appointment, and I said, I'm feeling something. It doesn't feel right. I'm still producing the milk. And she immediately had me go to a breast specialist. I explained everything to her. That breast specialist that day ordered a mammogram and ultrasound. Now, I had a mammogram like 6 months prior. There was nothing found. Even the new mammogram, there was nothing found. The ultrasound is what ultimately found the cancer.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So that's how that kind of like triggered. I was, being proactive so I just always, I remember in school, in health class, they used to always say, make sure you do exams. So I was always on top of that. And knew I was always a feeler, so I knew what.
You knew what was normal for you and what wasn't.
Right.
Wow. Wow. Ladies.
It's
do it in the
important.
shower.
Yeah.
Do it in the shower. Do it in the shower. When
Do
you're
it
washing.
Whenever, too.
Just,
I mean,
even
outside
you
the
shower every day.
But I'm saying, some people may, because you can do it as you're putting your lotion on.
Yeah.
Right?
You can do that.
Yeah.
So as long as you do it, right?
Or your partner.
Yeah,
your
that's
partner
another
to
thing.
just, my, she's a member of the board at my organization, and her husband is the one who found it because he was hugging her and he felt it.
Wow.
Yeah. So even your partner.
Your partner knows your body.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so now with your mother going through her treatment, you going through yours, recovering, going back to take care of her, also trying to take care of your kids. How did you get through it? How did you,
the
financial support, all
Yeah.
of it, because you're still a single mom.
Yeah.
That didn't change.
Right.
You're still trying to hold everything down by yourself. So how did you get through that?
The grace of God. Now, financially, I've always been the person who work. I got a second job so that I can pay off things.
Right after you recovered?
I got a second
job. And this is why I introduced her as Superwoman.
Yes.
Supermom.
Yes. Even prior to that, I always worked 2 jobs because I always wanted to provide. Exactly. I always wanted to provide. So, I got a second job. So, don't ask me how. I was doing 2 jobs,
and
plus the kids, plus my mother. There were days like I would.
And yourself.
No, I never took care of myself.
So after they said you're clear of treatment, there was nothing else to do.
Nothing else to do. I just go every year and basically talk to my doctor because I don't have to get any mammograms or anything because I don't have any breast tissue. Yeah.
All right.
So no, I will tell you, I have never taken care of myself. I don't know what that even feels like.
Wow.
I don't know what that feels like. Yeah, but I would manage.
Talk about some self-care.
Exactly.
We gotta talk about some self-care.
I don't know if you know, but she's a therapist.
Oh, so then we need to talk. Yeah, after this, recommend doing it,
Mhm.
but that's all I knew to do. I just had to keep going
Mhm.
because it causes depression, weight gain, like just a whole trickle of effects, which isn't good for someone who's had cancer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I try to do a little now, but it's still kind of like I'm still in that mode to keep going.
To keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk after.
Yeah.
But so now you're back in the races,
Mhm.
running things as if you did not just have cancer, did not just have surgery. Then what?
So, and then I had a demanding job that also had, it was taking a toll on me. And I actually resigned and I just went on a leap of faith and said, let me try this other job, knowing that it was going to change things where I wouldn't have that flexibility of taking my mother to all of her appointments. But I was like, something has to give. I can't be in a stress. I was working like nonstop. Late at
Okay, so you just got another job because the first job was stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And then what comes?
COVID. Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah. COVID came like 8 months later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And
So
so how do you
there
deal with that?
So that was a challenge. Two things. I had a kindergartner who only was in school for 6 months before COVID hit and now is remote.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows how to do remote learning?
And kindergarten, I mean,
yeah,
it's awful for remote. It's the worst. I mean, it was horrible for mine, and mine were in what, first and second grade, or I don't know. Yeah, second and third, something like that.
Yes. It's super hard.
We
So
bother.
we would. That's what I should have did. So I'm in the same room as him, trying to do my work, listening to him while he's doing his, and it just was a struggle. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, having a mom who's going through chemotherapy, who at the time we didn't know what COVID was, so I was afraid to be around her, and how do I juggle that? We couldn't even go into the hospital, so we would have to drop her off and wait outside in the car.
That's right. So how does that work though? Because if she needed someone to kind of help her get in, did they meet you?
Yeah. So what? Because at that time she needed a wheelchair. Before she could like get up but you know it was hard for her to walk. So they would come down in the wheelchair. It was like a drop off, almost like a school drop off, honestly.
Wow.
And they would be there and they would pick her up and take her upstairs to see her doctor. Yeah, because they didn't want her hospital where she was, what COVID was running rampant. So they just didn't want to risk it. So we would have to sit in the car and wait for her to come outside.
So then would you do FaceTime with the doctor or
we would FaceTime. We would FaceTime because I needed to know everything. One thing about my mother, she wouldn't tell them a lot of things. Like she wouldn't say if something happened, if she was ailing, she wouldn't say anything. So I needed to be that person to be like, oh no, did you tell them that you had this or you weren't feeling
I feel like that's a cultural thing. All of our parents are like that in a sense. They minimize their symptoms. They minimize everything to the point where sometimes it's just zeroed out. Yeah. You know, they forgot to mention it. I have a mother like that.
Yes. Yep, exactly. So that was a whole challenge of its own, trying to deal with that and trying to make sure both households were still running during this crazy COVID time.
So you dropping off food?
Yep. I would go to the grocery store and drop off food like water, things like that. If I'm cooking, I always cook for 2 households. Right. Sometimes 3 meals. You know, toddlers and early age kids, they don't want what we cook. No. So sometimes I would do that, and if my mother didn't want something or had a taste for something else,
so you was a restaurant. You had right? Yeah, because you taking orders from your child. And, you know, you had a whole restaurant business.
Yes, it was crazy. It was crazy.
So did you still have 2 jobs?
No, I only had one at the time. Yep. I only had one. I picked up the other one later on in the year, but I only had one. Okay. Yeah.
Because she still found enough time to pick up another one before the end of the year.
It was too risky. Nobody knew, you know. So
I didn't. And you wanted to make sure you was staying at home.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Everything ceased. Right. I remember having we did a Zoom birthday for me. And then we did a drive-by birthday for my son. And we did, because their anniversary was in June. So by that time, it was a little bit better with COVID. So that's when we had a small gathering for my parents' anniversary. They celebrated 30 years of marriage.
30 years of marriage.
Yeah. And my daughter, she's a jack of all trades. She actually decorated the whole backyard. The rose, it was beautiful. Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah. So we had that, and that was great to be able to celebrate something with all that's going on. You know, it was a hard decision too, because we were like, do we do it? Do we not? You know, with her immune system. And I remember also too, some people got upset because I didn't invite them. And I didn't invite them because I had to scale it down.
Yeah. So, I mean, there were still requirements in regards to how many people you have over, right? Yeah.
So it was only their siblings and my grandparents. No cousins were allowed. I had to. First of all,
you have a big family. No way.
Can you imagine? Yeah. Who wants to stay outside? I'm like, nope. It was just their siblings and my grandparents. Nothing, and they had close friends, but all
the people that were at the wedding.
Yeah.
The people that was old enough to be at the wedding.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
They were the ones there celebrating.
Yeah, we had to. We had to. Yep. And we had it outside, and it was so nice. It was beautiful. Yeah.
Good.
So, like I said, COVID, it was a lot, but it brought us even closer together as a family. Yeah, and we needed that, given that she started declining. So having to be able to have that moment, like I look back at those pictures and videos, and I'm like, wow, this was like you said, meant to be. It was meant that, you know, they were supposed to celebrate. We were supposed to go away, but you know, we couldn't.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep, but we couldn't.
Originally, they were going to plan this whole getaway where everybody was going to come.
Yep. Then COVID reared its ugly head, and we couldn't, but at least we had that. And she looked so good, and everybody was just so happy, and so that was a lot, dealing with that. The summertime was great because my son wasn't in school, and work at that time kind of like, it was a lull. So I had a little bit of time to breathe, to give me time to do what I had to do as far as taking care of my mom.
But still not taking care of yourself.
No, not at all. Not at all.
We're going to get there.
But it brought, I remember doing movie nights with my kids, and I made like little animated cheeseburgers that had smiley faces, and I never used to do stuff like that. I cook and stuff, but I'm not like that all fancy. I'll cook.
It's like you got to make it different, make them think they are going to a restaurant.
Or to the movies. We had I had a deck, and we would be out on the deck, and we would listen to D Nice all the time when he did, and all the different, all the verses, like you just had to improvise as to what you had, so that was good. And I remember also. I think it was it Gladys Knight and Patti LaBelle? It was one of the like old school ones, and Babyface and Teddy Riley, and me and my mom were watching that together. And it just was like all the old songs, and so those are the good memories that I have of COVID, other than the bad things. So
So what happened then? So COVID hit, you're getting through that, the anniversary happened, then what happened after that?
And then that's when her health started declining, and she just was in a lot of pain and couldn't be as mobile as she should. And she was hospitalized, and she was in the hospital, and I couldn't see her because, again, no one can go into the hospital. So I'm trying to talk to the doctors on FaceTime and the nurses, and it was just a whole big thing, and I didn't like it because I needed to be there to help her to do
because you're
what you had been doing.
You were the caregiver,
and now I'm relying on other people to take care of my mom. I wasn't really I wasn't comfortable with that. So she finally came home from the hospital. They had changed up her medications, but the doctor was saying, like, I cannot manage you at home. If we're gonna keep you on this routine and this medication, you have to be in the hospital. Oh, wow. She really did not want to be in the hospital. She didn't want to be away from us. So she stayed home, and we tried to monitor it as much as we can, but she just was getting too sick. and we made the decision to stop her medication and just let it run its course, not knowing that it had been spreading to her liver.
Right.
And that's why she was having pains, and that's why, you know, she just couldn't eat and things like that. So we reached out and did the hospice, and she was only in hospice for a week before she passed away. There was one thing I do remember too, that gets me a little upset. Well, not upset, but just I remember that last time that we actually physically talked to each other, and she was delirious. I knew something was going on because my sister called me and she's like, she keeps saying these things and it's not right. She called me like 4:00 in the morning. So I raced over to her house, and she kept saying that at this point she couldn't hold her bowel, so we used to have depends on her. And she kept saying, I need to change it, it's wet. And I'm like, no, it's not wet. But I knew something was wrong, so I just appeased her and I changed it. And I helped her back into the bed, and I just could see in her face something wasn't right. So when I got her in the bed and I like put the covers on her, and I just kept staring at her, and I just wouldn't stop staring. Something about her face, she just looked so beautiful at that moment. And she was like, what's wrong? And I said, nothing, I'm just looking at you because you're so beautiful. And she goes, I'm going to be okay. And that was the last words that I had of my mother. And I told her that I loved her, and I got in the bed with her, and I just laid there with her. And from that moment, she never fully woke up. She, I don't know what you guys could tell me better, but it was like a coma-like state. She would just be in and out, mostly sleeping. And then that last morning, the nurse had already prepared and said, you know, you need to call your family and have whoever needs to come visit her because she's not going to survive much longer. And that morning, me and my sister had a routine. We would get her up, give her the morphine. We would just put it on her lips because at that point she, you know, but something was wrong. Like I couldn't really feel her pulse, and she was just like really limp. And I said to my sister, I said, she's transitioning. And so we called the nurse in, and we called the family, but they didn't make it. But it was me, my kids, my sisters, and my father all surrounded by her, and we just watched her take her last breath. And I still have a picture of me holding her hand. And even though it was painful, I needed that closure to know that she was gone. It hurt me to the core. I just, my mother was my best friend. A lot of people can't say that about their parents. And truth be told, I couldn't stand my mother when I was a teenager.
I wouldn't have known that. As close as
I could not stand. Like, we clashed a lot. But over the years, we just built this bond. And I hope to have that same bond with my daughter. Yeah, that
I think
bond.
you already have it. You don't think so?
Maybe. I don't know. It just feels different because I'm on the other end of it. But I hope to build that.
And you
bond.
and your mom went through a lot. You know,
we both had a cancer diagnosis. We both went through it together. Even though she couldn't help me, but she would make like breakfast. She would make some grits and eggs, and that was like I allowed her. That's one thing I would say about people who are caretakers. At first, I was hovering over her and making her feel like she was a baby. And someone said to me, "You got to stop doing that." And when I allowed her to do, like, there were times when she wanted to make banana pudding. I allowed her to do that. You have to allow them to live because they needed that. She would clean up, but that's what she needed because she said, if I don't do this, then there's something wrong. And that was, she was right. Once she stopped doing that, my mother always cleaned up. She stopped doing that. She just didn't have that will anymore. So I will say to people, like, you really have to let them live. Don't baby them. They don't need that.
And then also pay attention to what they're asking.
Yeah.
Like, she asked to be changed, even though she wasn't physically wet. And you changed her, and that made her feel comfortable. You know.
You have to understand. And I knew I'm not a doctor, but you would think because I've been going through this, but I just knew something. I knew she was she was
because
transitioning.
you are a woman. That is, you know,
A super mom,
a
a super
super
daughter.
mom.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that is because you are a woman. I just really feel like women just have.
It's that natural
Yes,
instinct.
it's a
Yeah.
natural
Mhm.
nurturer.
Yep.
Let me just care for you.
Yep. And she couldn't stand me taking care of her.
Mhm.
And she was like, you don't have to do it. Stop. She was always telling me to stop. And I said, as much as you've done for me my whole life, this is nothing. This is nothing what I'm doing. She just felt so ashamed. She would get sick and I would have to clean up. Like, I can't stand throw up. I throw up if I see it. I just did it.
Yeah.
I was just in that mode. Like, I have to do that.
That's different. That's like, you know, cleaning up your child's poop versus somebody else's poop. And you're like, I don't want to touch their poop. But if it's my child, it's like, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, you know, it's not a big deal.
I just did it.
So it was,
yeah. So I don't regret any things I feel like happened for a reason. I don't regret anything. The only thing I may regret is taking more time for myself. Other than that, I would do it all over again. If my mother was in that situation, if my father ever is in that situation, I have no problem with doing it. And I think it's a generational thing. My grandmother always she was the oldest. She took care of everyone. She took care of their kids, their grandkids, their nieces. She took care of everyone. And then my mom was the same way. She didn't take care of kids like that, but she would do things for people. She was always willing to help people. Even when she was sick, she would help. My cousin moved into a new apartment. She had my daughter decorate her whole bedroom for her. This was 2 weeks before she passed away. Little did we know, you know? Just things like that.
She's still working behind the scenes.
Just things like that. And now everybody's saying I'm the next, and I don't want that title. I can never live up to my grandmother and my mother. But everybody is saying I'm starting. Everybody is saying
you already did it.
Yeah.
You're already there. So I know you don't want it, but you already
yes.
It's already
I don't.
You
at
already
this point, I don't have a choice. It's just embedded in me.
Yeah,
and now that I'm talking, see, when I talk, that's when I realize things. Those two are the reason why I'm the way I am because of what they did. So I can't take all the credit. It was the 2 generations before me.
It's in your DNA.
Yep.
Yes. You are a natural caretaker.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's exactly how they were. And now, like I said, it's like now people are like, oh, Thanksgiving at your house now? Like people are like, oh, you making this
that
like
was it. Every Thanksgiving it would be
was at my parents' house. Yep.
And every event, we would always have banana bread, banana pudding.
And when we switched it up, because I knew I was like, she's getting too sick to keep hosting it. And that's when that year we came here. I said, Mom, why don't we do something different this year? Why don't we go to Maryland for Thanksgiving? Because I knew she wouldn't sit down.
Yeah.
And she needed
and
to rest.
Here, she
this is with the Moses.
She was still trying to do stuff.
Clean it out, wipe. I'm like, what are you doing, Nikki? Yeah. So it's embedded in me, and I guess I have to try to be humble with it, and I just there's so big shoes to fill that I don't know if I could do that.
I think it's already too late. I think it's too late.
Yeah.
So you got to work on accepting your new role.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Because you already
and take care of yourself.
Right.
Take care of myself first, then accept the new role.
Yeah. Refilling that glass.
Well, I still have some.
Not pouring from an empty glass. Right.
So now, where have you been? What have you been doing with work? Everything that's going on.
So with all that going on, I had this empty feeling where I didn't feel like, what do I do now after having been a caretaker for so long? What do I do? Even with my kids, but it still felt empty. So the organization that helped me while I was going through breast cancer, I did a lot of volunteer work for them. And they just adored me. We clicked. The executive director, we have something in common. Her mom also passed away from metastatic breast cancer. And so we had that bond because we know what it's like to have to go through that. And so they created this director of patient services and outreach solely for me, so that I can spread the word about the good things that we do, the services, and help other women. And so that's
And you are the only
I'm
African American
the only
female
yep,
or African American person
at the job and director.
Look at God. He is just working all through up and in her life.
Yep.
I mean,
And
really.
it's good though because we need to have that representation, right?
Yes.
Because it's not
Yes.
just the Caucasian women
Mhm.
who are getting it, and a lot
We're
of times
at a
they're the
higher
only
She lives in
Yeah.
Massachusetts, so they're not the most friendliest to us.
Truth
So
be
let's
told,
be
yes.
clear
Yep. Truth
of
be
what
told,
kind of
yeah.
feeling she is breaking
Yeah.
where she is.
Yes, yes.
You know?
And I will say this: my executive director during COVID, all the racial things that was going on at that time, and she took a step back and she said, "Yeah, everybody's going out there and saying we condemn this, we condemn this." She's like, "I want to make a difference. Where we serve everyone, where are all our BIPOC patients? Where are they?" And so
What is
that's the BIPOC community.
Yeah,
It's Black, Indigenous, BI, P. I forgot what the P is.
Is it Pacific Islanders or
Yes. O. And C.
okay? I'm sorry. We have kids that are interrupting us right now, but they're going to stay on the other side and behave.
Yep. So it's Black, Indigenous, Pacific Islander. There's an O and a C in there. Mm-hmm. But it's Black and brown women basically who are underrepresented, and so we took a step back and said, like, why aren't they here? And that's why I'm on board, because I'm going doing the outreach to different organizations, and we felt like what I had to say was, we want to see more people like us, and through history, Black people are not always willing to accept services. So if they see someone like me who's been through it, and I can say, listen, these people help.
They help.
Yes.
So they helped you because they did what?
What services did they provide?
They provided 3 months of childcare while my son was in daycare, and 3 months of groceries, which were $350 per month. 3 months. Yep.
Wow, that is a heavy lift.
It is.
Off of you while you're going
So two
through
things
treatment.
that you already know is automatically going to be taken care of for those 3 months that
Exactly.
you don't have to worry about.
And I should point out that if you're metastatic, it's 6 months.
Oh, wow.
So we double it. And we're working to try to do more, but our goal is to help everyone, and to help everyone, we have to have some type of cutoff. But that's in the works.
Right. To make sure everybody gets it.
Exactly. Yep.
And you're also trying
to
sharing
get out of, just the Boston, Massachusetts area. You're trying to.
Yes, we're trying to branch out. We have a pilot going on with this hospital in North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Because what they found is women will not, as we talked about, they will not seek treatment if they can't control their household. And we have that. Women have not gotten treatment because
they're so busy running.
Yeah.
What am I going to do for groceries?
How you go to your appointment?
Right. They're so busy
you have to worry
running.
about
Everything else, we forget about us.
Exactly.
All the time.
So we're doing a pilot to say, if we give them their services, they will go and seek treatment. So we're excited about that. We're excited about next month self-referral. So typically a doctor or a nurse or patient navigator refers a patient to us. Now that power is in their hands, where they can go online and fill out the information so that they can get services through us, which is major.
What is the Ellie Fund? Is that what it is?
Yes, ELLIE.
Okay.
Fund.
Ellie
Yep.
Fund. So we'll put that in the comments.
Yeah, we'll put that in the comments. But I want to point out to everyone that Nekia was provoked to purpose by Jesus. No joke. That he groomed you with your mom and giving you that DNA, right?
Yep.
And then he literally had a position made just for you.
Me. Yes.
And I cannot wait to see, because he put you there for a reason, all the things that you do in that position.
Yes.
Like, seriously, you're about to break
I'm going to tell you something.
many more.
Typically, it's about 40 to 50 patients each month. For the month of June, it's 100.
Oh wow.
It's 100 patients.
So already double.
So you have more than doubled.
And that's just, I mean, just think about what outreach entails. Calling and doing, and you figure out, okay, who, and it's a lot. And that little bit that I've done has made it a big difference. Yeah.
And then right now, even if you don't live in the Boston, Massachusetts area, you can still receive these resources.
Yes,
if you're getting care.
Treatment
yes.
in Massachusetts.
Yes. Because some people
So look up the Ellie Fund
yeah.
if you are getting treatment in Massachusetts.
Or if you have a family member that may live in Massachusetts and could utilize the services. Yeah. Yeah. We don't, it doesn't matter what your income is, what your status is. We help everyone. The only 2 requirements is that you live or receive treatment in Massachusetts. That's it.
That's it.
Nothing else.
So y'all heard it here.
Yes.
So we would like to thank Nekia for coming.
Yes,
sharing your powerful story.
The testimony.
Yes, because only Jesus could do what you get you through and get you where you are. Because you were at the top of the mountain and you are still getting there. You have not even touched the things that He has in store for you. And it's just showing everybody else that they can get through it.
Yes, you can't. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's hard. It is hard. There were nights where I knew like things weren't right. I was crying. I didn't want anyone to see me crying, so I would do it in the shower or I would be in the car and do it.
My place is the closet. I act like I lost something in the closet.
I'm in there and let me go.
Because I mean, how many moms out there, or wives, or just women running everything in their lives, just find a spot to go cry. You need that. You need it. It is okay. Right?
It helps. It helps.
My place is the closet. So yours is the shower.
It's the shower.
Where's yours?
I don't know that I have a place. I just cry.
You're like, forget it. I can't work.
But you need, you have to release it. You need it. Well, thank you so much. We're going to have you back because I know there's some other topics.
There's other topics that I'm all excited about.
But we want you all to definitely check out the Ellie Fund. We're going to put it in our comments, so please check it out and share it with others who may be going through, any cancer treatment, and they can get some of those great resources. And also, please subscribe because we're going to bring some more topics and some more, special guests, and we're going to bring this special guest back. So please subscribe
and go keep running it.
Yes,
now it's time to get back to running it.